Okay, welcome to our pink room. Let this pink color represent love, honesty, and genuinity. So, we're in a time, in an era where things are shifting massively, and it's very obvious how this is actually happening. You can feel it in the air, you can see it in people, you cross in the street, you can see it, you can smell it, you can sense it with your fingers everywhere. I think it's so important that we all do what we need to do in this time. We all have a role, we all have something that we can bring in to, support this move, this change for the better. Let's be clear about that. The change for the better. Let us take advantage of this shifting energy, advantage with good intentions, right? We're seeing a lot of darkness appearing, darkness that has been, served as dirt and hidden under the rug for many, many, many years. And, it's becoming clear all these hidden agendas, all these propagandas, all this this influence of darkness is becoming very apparent to all of us, really, most of us. As for myself, I've never been a very political person, but I'm very much a spiritual person. I care about humans and nature and so forth, but I haven't been much in political stuff, so I don't know much about how all the stuff works systematically. But all I do know is that a lot of it has been inhuman, and a lot of it has been exactly what humanity is not supposed to be. And I think a lot of us have also been kind of sitting in the dark and kind of like put our trust into like other people's, our lives, our trust into other people's hands, thinking that, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna like not interfere and just hope that whatever that's being done is not going to harm me, or yeah. But it's funny because I was actually listening to this thing with Neil Kramer saying that, we're in a time, we've been in a time where good and evil has always been there. It's been confusing to tell the difference. And now we're in a time where the source, whatever you want to call it, the source, the one who connects us, said, okay, well, let me make it very, very obvious what the difference is. So how has that been done, according to his studies, is that a lot of the pain, the evilness has been highlighted during a period of time, which we have seen years, right? Years. We have seen a lot of evil. And we've seen a lot of evil to understand what evil is. And now we're in a time where, a lot of people are waking up. A lot of people are waking up and starting to realize that, okay, now I starting to understand the difference between the two. And he was saying that a lot of us are now being asked to now make a choice, right? Now, since we know, how do we do that, as per what he was saying, is that we act accordingly. So we act towards light or we act towards darkness. very apparent in these times specifically, where you see a lot of opportunities to really get closer and like almost arriving to that light. And you see a lot of people who are in shock. I completely understand. It's a big thing. It's a big wave of change suddenly coming. But to be honest myself, I don't think it's been very sudden, but I think in a lot of people's eyes, it's very sudden. And now it's like, okay, now I have to make a choice. Okay, it's scary. Understandably so. It's scary. It's very scary. Change is always scary, especially when you're unsure of what that change is. But that's the truth of change, is that we will never really know what the results are going to be, but we need to listen to our hearts to guide us towards what we think is best for us. And you have a lot of people in these movements, right? These movements are a clear sign of things shifting. We arrived at that time where we need to act towards light or darkness. And, it's, you see a lot of people silent. And my prayers personally is that it's a processing and not a continued silence, but a time where people are processing and will then move towards acting actually, and not just staying in a stuck phase of not knowing what to do, because we're in really critical times. We've been given a door almost like a train, right? Almost like a train. We've been sitting on a train, and we've been going through and looking out the window, seeing all these experiences, stuff along the way, and now we're at that last stop. And it's for us. It's time for us to choose whether we get off of that train, or do we stay on it and go all the way back again to the first stop where we came from and experience everything again from start. The sad truth is that it doesn't take only one person to get off that train. It has to be collective. It has to be collective, or at least majority. Not everyone is on the same boat and will never be, but at least majority. Being awake is a blessing and a curse. Just like everything else, there are pros and cons with everything. But when you're awake and you see people sleeping, it's really painful. It's really painful, not because you're angry with them, not because you're upset with them. It's because you care for them and you don't want them to miss out. You feel like they deserve to see what is reality. And now, what is reality? That which is reality is the five sense world. Some say reality is different for everyone. What is real for someone is not the same for someone else. But that is perspective, and perspective does not make it reality. Reality is not that which we have an influence on. Reality is that which is. It can be harsh sometimes, it can be real, it can be everything, it can be happy, whatever, But reality is nature, right? And us staying in this, no, but that's not my reality, my reality is something else, is us protecting ourselves, right, from what is out there, and staying in this fantasy world, in this world of delusions, to protect ourselves initially, right? Which is understandable to a point, but there is also that boundary where that goes too far and kind of makes you shut out everything else that goes against what you have built in your fantasy world. And in many ways that can be very harmful to ourselves, but also for the people around us, the world. A lot of people, even very spiritual people, a lot of us don't even see reality. Reality only appears to those who seek it. And it's a journey. Because, a lot of those defense mechanism layers that we have created, we would have to peel off and deal with stuff that we might have not been ready to deal with. I want to make sure that I come with love, right? I want to make sure I come with love, even though I have a lot of sorrow in my heart, because as much as this whole movement that's going on is for the better, there's also a lot of loss that has come with it. Loss of lives, loss of people. And the hard truth is that the longer it takes for people, for the rest of us, especially in the West, to wake up, the more loss we're gonna have. So the sooner we wake up, take that responsibility of facing reality, facing what is happening, this movement, this energy shift, the sooner we will save lives, and we will also spare more lives, because every day costs lives. That's the hard truth. But we have to move through love. You cannot conquer evil with evil. You have to conquer evil with love, because otherwise it's nothing else than just evil, right? And the prize, the goal is love, is unity, humanity. You see, the most people who are awake right now are the people of Iran. The people of Iran are probably the most awake people right now, because they are, I think they are also the ones who really taking this energy shift for their advantage, and they're using it, they're utilizing it. It is costing them a lot, but they're doing something about it. And I think that's the key of awakening, is that when you awaken, you realize you need to do something about it. And I think that should only be an inspiration, an invitation for the rest of us outside of that area to also take the leap of faith, of goodness, of love, of change for the better for all of us. I don't want to get too political with it. It's important to realize, and also why this mask, why am I wearing a mask, is because a lot of people do not know this. This mask was used by my ancestors to protect themselves, but also kind of scare off colonizers. Especially women would wear it to hide their beauty, and to hide that they're women as well, and protect themselves from being captured and so forth. So for me, this is really a symbol of keeping bad energy away. That's really what it is for me today. When you talk about good and evil, there are many different theories and thoughts and opinions about it. Some say, oh, but you cannot say what's right and wrong. And I hear that, everything is like a yin and yang, right? There's in the dark there's a little bit of white, and the white there's a little bit of dark, and is that balance of life. But sometimes it gets a bit even more so disharmonized, that kind of little bit of light, kind of like a candle flame, just like shuts down. Ram Dass said something really beautiful, how you can define good and evil is to see the act, result, or function. So what does it do? What result does it bring? Does it harm anyone? How is it done? Function. How is it done? And what is the process? Does anyone get harmed along the way? I think that's how you can easily determine good and evil. Some say, okay, but if you eat too much tomato, you can become sick or allergic, have an allergic reaction or whatever. And I think that's, again, if you're overdoing something, I think that's the evil part of it. And, that was just a silly example, really, because you will always have people who kind of trying to find reasons of why it's not true. And I just try to do my best of supporting those internal conversations that one might have had once I said that. Some say, like, evil demons do not exist outside of humanity, so it only exists because humans exist, that it only exists through humans, that it's a choice that one makes through actions and choices throughout life. And some are born into Satan worshipping families, and they kind of inherit it because they learn it, and that becomes the way they live. You do see it in dictators' bloodlines. You always see the pattern of the child getting a bit more evil than the parent, and you see the evil kind of advancing through generation. Of course, you have also cases where the children don't want to continue that path, and that is absolutely beautiful and inspiring, how they get themselves out of that dark hole. And again, it's a choice, it's an everyday choice. And you also see that in like Zoroastrianism, where they say you need to choose between good and evil almost every day, every moment, every action of your life. That's something that also, the more conscious you are in life, the more easily it comes to you as well, of, okay, what is the right thing to do here? So I think the key to continue goodness is really living consciously through life. And like in Zoroastrianism, a lot of people think that they have gods, but they actually don't. They have scholars who practiced and researched basically life, and pass down these knowledges through this religion, Zoroastrianism. To be honest, it's less of a religion and more of a way of living, to be honest, for me personally, because it's all about good thoughts, good deeds, and good words, kind words, basically. They have created this almost like a story, right, about good and evil. So you have the good, which is Ahura Mazda, and then you have Ahriman, which is then the evil. And I feel like for myself as well, you always have these thoughts lurking in, and it's important to remind yourself and where you stand in life and who you're trying to be and what you're trying to do for the world. You need to constantly remind yourself. Sometimes, it's important to have an ego to a certain point, but sometimes that ego can take over, and it's important to remain conscious. What relates to this then is that there was a talk about, in a dimensional aspect, that our dimension is, so one theory, right, was that it's within us. Then another theory is that we're in this dimensional sandwich where we are in the middle, and then you have the upper layer, you have the light, and then the lower you have darkness. And we constantly get influence from both sides, right? We constantly get guidance from both sides. It could be good guidance, even from the dark side. It could be good guidance at times, but the more you connect with that energy source, the more you're feeded in, and then it goes gradually to darkness, right? This theory really resonates with also the Zoroastrian way of thinking, that you have to choose good and evil every day. So suggests the same thing, as in we do get influence from both sides constantly, but it is for us to choose which phone do we pick up, right? Whose call do we answer? And do we act on? More importantly, that is something so important to be aware of. What does the dark side want us to do, right? They want us to think that there's nothing else than this. This is all just, it is what it is, and there's nothing more than this. There's nothing more spiritual to this. And kind of like, are you crazy? Like this will end, and there's nothing more to it. Whereas light is like, no, there's this energy, and there's this force of love and light, and there's magic, right? The more you kind of shut down to all of this, the more you are influenced by the dark. Comes to also like this whole, like with these movements, right, that are happening. The dark side wants us to be ignorant. It wants us to not feel, or be like, oh, it doesn't relate to me, so I'm just gonna let it be. That's what the dark wants us. It wants us to kind of be like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I'm just gonna like put it aside and ignore it. It wants all of that. It wants us to do. It wants us to be silent. It wants us to not question. It wants us to just, live life just like in this box, and just go through it and do these, normal things, and then just leave this earth. Whereas, light is like, come, I invite you. There's more to life than this. Look at nature, nature, the source's imagination. You see so much there, is so abundant. That's why it's important that we act against this, to get ourselves out of this darkness, to be like, no, you know what, I'm not gonna ignore, I'm not gonna live in ignorance, I'm not gonna stay silent, I'm gonna question, I'm gonna ask questions and see, wait, why are we doing things this way? What is the system? Why are we following this system? It's important to question. You see that also, like, again, going back to the Zoroastrian ways, there's a lot of theories about Ahriman having influence in the digital world as well, like, through generations, that there's this energy. Some practitioners keeping this Ahriman energy around and awake, and making it linger through our, day-to-day society, like lives, as in like, mainstream media and so forth. It's kind of made to overwhelm, to make us be like, too much, I'm just gonna look the other way. You can see this pattern. We've been fed, especially when it comes to Middle East, we've been fed so much thoughts and stereotypes as well, of being like, oh, it's so messy, it's so chaotic, it's too complicated, I just gonna shut this out because it's normal. It shouldn't be normalized. Nothing should be normalized. And now this period marks a very special time for Middle East in general, with this whole movement going in Iran. It marks a very important time because this is that button. We have that button right there, right? That if you touch it, if you press it, it will make a major change for the whole region. And funny enough, we might hear a lot of more positive things about the region as well, and not so much negativity as we have done in the past 50 years or more so, you know. And we've been so fed systematically with propaganda and all these like overwhelming information. We've been fed so that we're like, you know what, it's too complicated, I'm gonna look away. So now when we are at this time that we are today, people are just like, no, but I'm already looking here, you know, like I'm not even there. It's important that we realize that the dark wants us to be ignorant. It wants us to sleep. We're seeing it in a lot of our celebrities as well that we gave platform to. You know, a lot of people are silent about many things, and they speak very filteredly. Pick out things that are not too like controversial, and they say it, and then like, oh, okay, I did something. You know, the truth is being revealed, and I think a lot of people are seeing the true colors of a lot of people. And it is time for us to also realize that we deserve better celebrities. We as people, we give them the platform, and you know, they should be our advocates because we've given them the platform to speak on our behalf. And if they're not doing that, then they're not serving their main purpose of having that platform to begin with. And I think we're all starting to see that as well. We need to give these platforms to the ones who really deserve it. A clear sign of how evil has influenced in our even mainstream society is we have gained this whole cancel culture, right? Of like, oh, you know, this, don't say what's right and wrong. And you know, if a topic is a bit more like controversial or controversial, sensitive, right? What is sensitive topics like politics, religion? The darkness wants us to feel uncomfortable to talk about these stuff. Wants us to be uncomfortable, to be able to have honest conversations with each other where we do not agree, but still able to discuss with love and peace. Darkness don't want us to be able to do such thing. It goes against everything it's trying to do, which is not nurture love. This cancel culture that has been created in mainstream media is really the death of society, because it has allowed people to be scared to speak their truth, scared to tell their opinions, scared of being different, scared of being honest, being vulnerable. We should not be scared to be vulnerable and honest and speak from the heart. It's okay to say stuff that we don't all agree with. It's fully okay. And if something is said that is meant to harm or offend anyone else, we treat it with love. We treat it with love, because love is always the strongest tool that we will ever be able to access. That is the truth. That is the truth of today. And you know, I hope that we start backing each other with love, endorse each other's loving actions, join each other in a movement of love towards love and light. We deserve better than this. We can have better than this. Let's just do better than this, all of us together. Much love. Sending you all my love. Hope you will be safe wherever you are. Listen to your heart. Your heart has all the answers. that you would need. If you listen to it clearly, you would know. Till next time.